The Riddle of a Suspicious Artist. Inspector Goodwin listened attentively to Sergeant Funt's report. As you know, Inspector, after the theft in the jewelry store, we carried out a number of investigative measures. So, Goodwin interrupted the sergeant menacingly, "Today I want to hear from you what progress you have made in this case. We have a serious suspicion that a certain citizen Harry is hiding the stolen jewelry in his house. If your suspicion is justified, get a search warrant," the inspector said. "We are heading to Harry." Having left the city and driven about 10 kilometers along a forest road, the detectives arrived at the scene. The small house of the suspect Harry was located on a wonderful forest edge. The rustling of tree leaves and the chirping of birds were more conducive to poetry or mushroom picking than to a routine search and capture of a criminal. With some regret, tearing themselves away from contemplating the beauty of the forest, the police headed to the suspect's house. The door of Harry's house was locked, and the owner was clearly absent. After a short meeting, the detectives decided to inspect the surrounding forest and headed into the forest thicket. Next to the house, Goodwin and Funt found an artist who politely greeted the detectives. Then, not paying attention to them, he busily set the canvas on the easel and began to paint. "An amazing craving for art," said Goodwin, approaching the artist. "Tell me, citizen, Jack," the artist introduced himself. "So, Jack," said the inspector, "how long will you continue to sculpt your artistic creation?" "I will be here painting this picturesque house until the evening, until the sun goes down to the horizon," the artist replied, continuing his work. "Excellent," exclaimed Goodwin enthusiastically. "If anyone comes into the house, may I ask you to call me at this number," said the inspector, handing the artist his business card. "Yes, of course," said Jack and said goodbye to the detectives. Having finished their urgent business, in the late afternoon, the inspector and Sergeant Funt returned to Harry's house. After an hour of waiting, the suspect arrived at his house, but the search yielded no results. "You see, I don't have any of the stolen goods." Harry was indignant and irritated. "I'll complain about you." "This is all very strange," Goodwin told the sergeant. "I think someone warned Harry," the inspector suggested, and went to the artist, who lived not far from Harry's house. In Jack's art studio, creative disorder reigned. The inspector barely managed to find the picture that the artist was painting today. "So, you say no one came into the house while you were painting?" Continued to examine the artist's new masterpiece, Goodwin asked. It was necessary to give credit. The details of the forest and the house were masterfully drawn by the artist. "I assure you," said Jack, "I worked on my painting until the evening, and if someone had appeared near the house, I would have noticed them immediately." The inspector listened attentively to Jack's explanations, once again examined the art studio and said, "I accuse you of lying and aiding the criminal." Why did Inspector Goodwin decide that the artist was lying? Answer to the riddle. During the detective's first visit to Harry's house, the shutters on the window of the house were closed. But, having visited the artist in the evening, Goodwin noticed that in the painting depicting the house, the shutters on the window were painted open. This means that during the day, someone entered the house, and the artist could not have failed to notice it. However, the artist denies this fact and, therefore, he is in collusion with the criminal.